Hi, Melissa Deely here again with day 8 of my gut health series. I'm an integrative health practitioner, and it's my mission to help people realize that there are answers to what is going on with their gut, even when you might be told there's nothing wrong with you. And so today I want to talk about inflammation and food sensitivities. Now, food sensitivities you're probably familiar with. But you also might think that you don't have any. Or you might think, how can I possibly be insensitive to that food? I've eaten it all my life. Well, there is a direct correlation between food sensitivities and the health of your gut. And so when you were younger and maybe your gut was healthier, your body was able to tolerate that food. But now that you've got some dysbiosis in your gut, it's unhappy for some reason, maybe your trash cans are overflowing. I talked about that on my September 4th episode. You can go back and listen to that if you're not sure what it means. But now your body can no longer tolerate that food. You've reached a tipping point and your body doesn't like it anymore. And every time you eat it, you probably have some kind of pain or some kind of reaction, except you don't really notice it because the symptoms don't show up for 2 or 3 days, by which point you have the symptom, but you no longer correlate it back to the food because you probably don't even remember what food you ate 2 or 3 days ago. And here's the problem. You're unknowingly continuing to eat food that is causing pain and issues in your gut, but also inflammation of the body. And when we have ongoing inflammation of the body, chronic inflammation of the body, that's what starts to turn on your genes that are predisposed to certain diseases. And I'm sure you don't want that. So you need to be paying attention to those symptoms from your gut and trying to figure out A, what's going on in your gut, B, what foods you might be insensitive to, so that you can heal your gut and stop eating those foods during that time. And then once your gut is healthy again, you can reintroduce those foods. And if you eat them not every day and not 3 times a day, but maybe once a week, your body will be able to tolerate it without all the inflammation. And this is true of kids too. Kids can have food sensitivities, and they can actually impact behavior and learning at school, as well as show up as asthma. Perhaps it's just asthma when you get a cold as opposed to chronic asthma, as eczema and other skin rashes. And I went through this with my own children. And I got told by a mainstream doctor all little girls get tummy aches and there's no science behind food sensitivities. But turns out when I went that holistic path and I got my kids tested, we realized what the problem foods were. We removed them from their diet and those symptoms went away, and they were back to being able to focus at school and wanting to go on play dates and enjoy sports again, etc. So I got my kids back. But I know too that it can be very hard to change the way your kids eat. They don't want to eat differently from their friends, etc., or feel that they're missing out. But I've just come across an awesome book, and I'll put the link in the chat, called Superheroes Inside Me. And it's written for kids, and it's talking about or teaching them all about the complex microbiome from the perspective of all these little superheroes that are working so hard to keep them healthy. And I think having kids who are struggling with gut issues read that book is going to really help get their buy-in to choosing to eat in a way that serves their body. So I wanted to let parents know about that. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was just general inflammation and the balance between omega-3s and omega-6s. So omega-3s are our essential fatty acids that the body does not make. We have to get it through our food source or through supplementation. And they are anti-inflammatory, so we want them, especially when our body is inflamed from other reasons. Omega-6s, on the other hand, are much easier to get through our diet. In fact, they're in almost everything we eat, so we get a lot of them, but they are inflammatory. So we need a balance of both. However, in today's diet, we're getting way too many omega-6s and not enough omega-3s, which is pushing our body further down that inflammatory path. So we have to supplement more with omega-3s, make sure we're eating good fatty fish to get more omega-3s in. And if you are vegan and you're using plant-based sources of omega-3, that's great, but know that it's harder for your body to process, and through the processing, your body is actually getting less. So you have to make sure you're ingesting more. The great news is we have a fabulous functional medicine lab test that we can do that will tell you exactly what your omega-3, 6 levels are, whether you need to be, chances are you need more omega-3s, but do you need an omega-3 that's higher in EPA versus DHA, or the other way around? And also, when you bring your body back into balance, omega-3s are so critical, but when you are in balance, we can reduce your risk of sudden death by heart attack by 90%. And it's so easy to do, and yet we're not taught the importance of supplementing with omega-3s to lower our inflammation and improve our health. If anybody out there wants to know more about that, or anything that I've talked about today, parents with kids that are struggling with gut issues, just general inflammation or general food sensitivities, which we can also test for. And in fact, I just got my test back today, so I'm super excited to be going through all of this myself. And you can reach out, just betterbrainhealth.info, click on the button Work With Me for a free 30-minute consult so that we can determine if I'm the right person to be working with you and helping guide your healing journey. Thank you for joining me, and have a wonderful weekend.